This is Radio TV Phono Nut, and we have a Motorola Pixie 4-tube battery operated radio from about 1954-55. As you can tell, this is a rather small radio, and what makes this one a little bit unusual is it uses a type 1R5 7-pin miniature tube for the oscillator and mixer tube, but the other 3 tubes are Subminiature types. This was the era when they were starting to bridge the gap between traditional vacuum tube technology and solid state technology, and there were a few companies during this time period, mainly Motorola, Emerson, who else made them? Crosley had one, and Silvertone had one, but I can't remember who made the Silvertone model. I've got one somewhere that used at least some subminiature tubes, and I know the Crosley radio and one of the Emerson radios was a hybrid with subminiature tubes for everything except the audio output stage. But yeah, by 54-55, transistors were starting to make an appearance, and we had these little subminiature tube portables. And then once transistor radios took off, that pretty much nailed the coffin shut on the tube portables, because the transistor portables were more economical to run, the batteries were cheaper, and they lasted longer on a set of batteries. That was the main advantage of them. Alright, so let's open this up and see what we have. Cosmetically, it's in pretty good shape except for a hunk of the volume knob being broken off, but I can still use the knob. Alright, here's all the labeling on the inside back cover. I'm covering up this one label because it gives a name and address that looks fairly recent, and I don't want to compromise that person's identity or their location if that's still an active address, so respect their privacy there. Here's the chassis. As you can see, it has a 45-volt battery inside, which looks to be a fairly recent manufacture, and we need a C battery for the filament supply. There's our 1R5 tube there, and there's another sub-miniature tube there. I don't know where the rest are. This looks like, I see 2 of them now. So yeah, this is a very compact radio, and this is one that it could very well just work as it is, and if it does, we're going to leave it at that. I'm not going to tear into this and do a full-blown restoration on it. This would not be something that I would use on a regular basis, and this would be something better probably left alone than messed with. You know, I've got one of those Crosley book radios that's a hybrid, and that was a pain in the butt to work on, and I have regrets now about doing that because my work was a little sloppy. I should have just left it alone and let it be a shelf queen. Alright, here's the battery, a 45-volt job. It's fairly recent. Now you can still get these, but they're expensive. I think around 35 or 40 bucks. This one looks to have a date code on it, maybe. Come on, focus there. Okay, 0706, so I'm guessing July 2006 or June 2007. So yeah, this battery has got a little age on it. Let's go get the meter and see if it has any juice left in it. No, I'm not going to stick it to my tongue. I think that would... 9 volts is about all I want to stick to my tongue. So let's go get the meter and see what this has got on it. Alright, let's see what we have here. Guess I could have grabbed some clip leads. Alright, 41.5 volts. So that battery is a little bit tired, and it might drop lower than that under load, so we'll just have to see. Now let me go find a C battery if I can and see if this radio will power up. If not, we'll just power it off of the battery eliminator. B battery is in circuit. We have the A supply being powered by my battery eliminator here, set to 1.5 volts. And let's turn it on and see what happens. Appears to be totally dead. So while under load, let's check our B plus and see what it is. See if that battery is falling off under load. Okay, we making a bad connection here. Okay, under load 10.5 volts. So that battery, either we have a short pulling the B plus way down, or that battery is just exhausted and is just no longer viable. Now we're down to 37 volts unloaded, so I think we're going to have to rely on the B plus resources of this power supply to get what we need here. Okay, we have 45 volts from the battery eliminator. I'm getting static that sounds promising.
From start to finish, do not wait to save.
And it works.
All year long, and turn your dream home into a reality. Visit blinds.com now to save on.
At the ball.
APR of 23.99% will vary with the market based on the primary minimum interest charge.
And seems to be working pretty good.
And praise now. Police families in the wake of an unthinkable tragedy. We also provide the First Responders Bible free of charge to the brave men and women who help keep our communities safe every day.
Actually, I don't think there's anything wrong with this radio. It just needs some fresh batteries and it'll be good to go. Alright, as far as the chassis, it looks like we have a couplet here. I suspect everything else in here is probably ceramic disc. I know Motorola pretty much used high quality parts in their equipment, and even before everybody else was using film capacitors and disc capacitors, Motorola was often using ceramic discs, so I'm hoping that's the case with this one. But at any rate, given how it plays and seeing as how this is not going to be one I use on a regular basis, I'm not going to tear into this. I'm going to leave it just the way it is and be done with it. Now it looks like the local oscillator might be a bit off. And I really can't get to the adjustment without tearing everything apart, so guess what? It's going to stay just like it is. It's working, and working rather well for what it is, and our voltages are not being hogged down, so that tells me that nothing in the chassis is leaky enough that's going to be hogging the voltage down. So all this needs is some fresh batteries, and it ought to be good to go. So basically this video was more of a show and tell video than a repair video. Mainly because there appears to be nothing to repair. It works. So this is going up on the shelf, and then maybe one day I'll get around to ordering some batteries for this. Yeah, I could take 5 9-volt batteries and wire them in series, but space limitations might be a problem, and given what batteries are costing these days, I might be better off just to order the proper 45-volt battery and be done with it. But even at that, this radio would not be something I would use on a regular basis because of the expensive batteries, and because of batteries don't last long in these types of sets. I've got plenty of transistor radios that use cheap batteries and will last cheaper batteries. There's no such thing as a cheap battery anymore, but they'll last a long time on a set of batteries. So stuff like this is more of a get it working well enough to where it plays reasonably well if such repairs are needed, and put it up on the shelf. Alright, so I hope you got a little something out of this, and more to come later. Here we are, $32.35 for a modern day equivalent of that ever-ready 415 battery. And that's the only one on here. So you have $32.35 plus tax. So that's a pretty good chunk of change to put out on a battery on a radio that will probably never be used, at least not that much. And the battery would just die from sitting unused for years. And this is cute, assembled in the USA. What does that mean? The battery was made in China and all they do is package it in the United States? That's probably what that means.